We have gone through the transactions. We've gone through the offense. Now it's time to talk about the defense on the original 53-man roster for the season. We all know that things can change in a moment's notice when it comes to not only the Cleveland Browns, but all the teams across the NFL. He's Daryl Ryder. I'm Andy Baskin. If you like what you're listening to, subscribe. We love all of our new YouTube viewers, too. Thank you for being a part of this and watching what we've been doing for more than a year now, but now you can see it on YouTube, and you can always follow us on Twitter and Instagram at GameDayCLE. Daryl, let's dive into the defense, and we'll start with the defensive line.
Yeah, so let's start with the defensive line. They kept 9 of them, which is certainly something that Jim Schwartz is going to be very, very happy about. Jordan Elliott, Myles Garrett, Shelby Harris, Isaiah McGuire, Obo Okoronkwo, Zadarius Smith, Dalvin Tomlinson,
Shelby Harris,
Alex Wright, and then
did you say Shelby Harris?
Ika.
Oh, that's right.
Siaki Ika. The draft. So those are your 9 defensive linemen.
And all of your backups, with the exception of Double O, who I think is not really, I mean, he's a third starter, if you ask me.
Yes.
With Zadarius. So it's interesting that all of your backups are original picks of the Browns. 3 of them are third rounders, and Isaiah McGuire is a 4th rounder from 23. Yeah. So Wright, Ika, and Elliott are all third round picks, 20, 22, and 23. So Andrew Berry did stick with some of his guns on keeping guys that he's drafted, and the importance of a third round pick in an Andrew Berry defense or offense.
Yeah, he kept on this roster 7 draft picks from this year, which I believe that's what they had. I believe they had 7 picks this year, and all 7 made the team. But yeah,
how does this? What do you just in general? I mean, Daryl, when I look at this team and I see Double O and I see Myles Garrett and I see Zadarius Smith and Dalvin Tomlinson and Shelby Harris, I can't tell you the last time I felt this good about a defensive line. I think that they're in good shape.
As long as they stay healthy. I am a little nervous about the depth on especially on the interior of that defensive line, Andy. A little nervous just because of some of the youth and inexperience there. But if they are able to stay healthy, that is going to be a fun group to watch.
I think it's going to be outstanding. I mean, I really feel like we have 3 outstanding defensive ends. And one obviously is allegedly, I hope, the best in the game. And allegedly is kind of a harsh word. I hope Myles Garrett is the best in the game this year going out there. All right, let's switch over to linebacker, where I feel like the linebackers feel renewed. I think they feel like they have freedom. Watching Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah play against the Chiefs really got me excited. I'm wondering about Sione Takitaki. Well, so riddle me this on all these guys.
They kept 7 linebackers. A little bit of a surprise to me there. Just because the linebacking position in Jim Schwartz's defense isn't as central to what he does, right?
Right.
But I think they kept 7 just because of, as you alluded to, the injury history there. I love the fact that Mahmoud Diabiate made the team. He deserved it. I'm super happy he made the team. But obviously, JOK, Sione Takitaki, Anthony Walker, those are your starters. Tony Fields, Matthew Adams, who's a special teamer. That's your 7th linebacker there. And Jordan Kunasek. He, too, a little banged up here with the knee injury. I anticipate a roster move is coming there. I could see him being placed on injured reserve on Wednesday and them making a roster move to fill his spot. So that is something to keep an eye on, because Kevin Stefanski has already told us that he's going to miss a few weeks with that knee injury that he suffered.
And he's also a special teams coach's dream, right?
Yeah.
Love him. But hopefully he gets healthy and he'll be okay. All right, let's go to the defensive backs right now, because you got 9 of them, and one of the big guns is
11.
I'm sorry, 11. Yeah, what am I saying? Corner. I missed a corner. 11, sorry. You've got 11 defensive backs. So let's walk through this, and I think there's some questions to be asked.
Yes. DeAnthony Bell, Grant Delpit, MJ Emerson, Mike Ford, AJ Green, Ronnie Hickman. Again, kudos to Ronnie Hickman. Certainly deserved to make the team as an undrafted free agent. Love to see it. Rodney McLeod, Cameron Mitchell, Greg Newsome, Juan Thornhill, and last but not least, Denzel Ward, who is currently in concussion protocol. And I do feel like there's some long-term questions that need to be asked regarding that particular situation. I asked Kevin Stefanski that specific question Tuesday afternoon. He downplayed it, did not sound all that concerned. But from where I stand, Andy, I am concerned that this is concussion number 4, Denzel Ward. And I am curious as to what private conversations might be had behind the scenes, maybe between Ward and his family, Ward and the football team. I don't feel like it's especially with the attention now that's paid to head injuries, right? This isn't like the old days, 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years ago, where they just broke out the smelling salts and they, woke you up and they sent you back onto the field. That's not how this works anymore. So I do feel like there is some reason to be concerned there when you're talking about Denzel Ward's long-term health.
Yeah, I'm concerned. I mean, if it's his 4th NFL concussion, I mean,
yeah, we don't know what he sustained in high school. We don't know what he sustained and how many at Ohio State. So this is the 4th one that we know of in the National Football League. So, without having the knowledge of previous medical history in regards to head injuries, that's again why I myself independently raised the question about long-term, playing viability for him, because again, the science regarding these injuries is a lot more clear now than it was 10, 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, and the other part of it is he's a hometown kid. I mean, we know his story. We know about his father who went to Cleveland Heights and was a principal at Bedford and lost his life way too short. So, I mean, I could understand Denzel if he has any reservation or wants to make sure they take it unbelievably slow on this. But, again, the independent neurologist will have some say in this too. But I'm more worried about Denzel than I am about football, going to be honest about it. And I would say that about any player in the NFL. You're talking about 4 concussions in the NFL, and there's just been too much out there in the last 10 years about concussions. ESPN had another story about it this weekend. I mean, they finally had to recognize it because they got forced into concussion and understanding what concussions. Now, I do know that there are some things in the pipeline that I've heard left and right about concussion treatment and, getting back to the classroom and getting back to play, but you just can't mess around with concussions. And, whatever happens with Denzel, if he plays, I would love for him to keep playing. If he doesn't play, I think that's a decision that we all should accept and understand that he is dealing with concussions, and concussions aren't getting your bell rung. It is brain trauma, plain and simple. That's what it is.
So I would look out for the possibility of maybe a roster move there involving Denzel Ward.
I mean, even I would say maybe even talking about injured reserve to start the season.
You IR him so he misses the first 4 weeks of the season or something, and maybe you get a little better clarity of that particular situation. And finally, to wrap up the pod, Andy, we got to mention the 3 specialists.
Yes, we do.
The tied with Joel Bitonio is the longest tenured Cleveland Brown. Charlie Hewlett, still your longest.
Charlie Hewlett is the man. He is 100% the man. Don't mess with him. My favorite player on the team. I'm going to get my dogs his jersey.
Hey, you know what? Ryan Pomperion was the Browns' first Pro Bowler in the expansion era. And Butch Davis can always say, hey, I drafted a Pro Bowler. Corey Bojorquez is your punter. And Dustin Hopkins, as we spoke about earlier in the podcast, he is your new place kicker. So there you go. There's your initial. It's not the final. I always get it. It's one of my pet peeves in our business. I always get annoyed when people say it's the final 53-man. No, it's the initial 53-man roster, because by the time we do our next podcast, guess what happens?
It's going to be a totally 53-man roster?
Well, I don't know. It's going to be totally different, but there are going to be some alterations made. And, of course, again, Wednesday afternoon, The Browns will set their practice squad. It's part of the reason why the Browns will be practicing Wednesday afternoon around 3 p.m. so they can get that practice squad established and those players, especially the ones that they're able to bring back, on the field.
He's Daryl Ryder. I'm Andy Baskin for our producer, Meredith Kane, who is just killing it. Thank you, Meredith. We appreciate you. This has been It's Always Game Day in Cleveland.